Mossberg, Parker.
Here.
Okay, we have four. Let's see. Item number 3, approval of minutes of regular meeting held 13 May 2024.
I make a motion to approve minutes.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second. Call the roll.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Okay, reports from staff.
City Council report, just quickly on the finances. We've got total revenues of $101,000, no, excuse me, the month of May. All right. We've got March financials in front of us. I just looked at that. Skip the financial report.
I thought maybe the others had been completed. Will those be forwarded to us and then later, you know?
So I'll skip the financials, but I'll speak briefly.
Just call it again.
Thank you.
What's that?
He asked if the correct main finance can be forwarded to an email. So we'll get to see it. Say still learning.
Okay.
On that note, I don't know that we've discussed it out here, but we have had a transition from having Crawford prepare all of our meeting financials to bringing that back in-house. And I think I mentioned that we'd hired Sadie Beer to be our finance director or finance manager. And so she started last week. And so she really didn't, she didn't prepare, did she? I don't know.
Yes, you tried to prepare.
No, she did prepare one. It's just,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's the wrong header.
She's still getting her feet underneath her though, and we'll get it straightened out and emailed out the May financials and go from there. The one thing I'll I guess mention, not necessarily city council report, but we did have Derek, I think, let everybody know that ODAA, Grayson and Jace were here from Oklahoma ODAA, and then our engineer Toby Baker with Park Hill was here last Friday to talk about some grants and other opportunities, matching funds and whatnot for different types of projects for airports. You've got handy there kind of a summary from the state of some of the things that they talked about, but basically, when we listened to what they had to say, they talked about a lot of projects that we've kind of talked about. They maybe talked about some that we hadn't talked about as well, but they mentioned that they've been going throughout the state and doing terminal construction in a bunch of airports, but they also said that for terminals like ours that were built in the 90s, or I think, is that right? Yeah, 94, and after that, there might be some updates needed in those places to keep up with the brand new terminals that they're building in other places. So they're kind of getting to the end of where they're building terminals and getting to the point where they're updating other terminals. Anything older than the late 80s, early 90s, they're recommending that they build new. But we're in that category where they're recommending that we update and take advantage of some of the 50/50 funds for doing that. So if we wanted to start thinking about that, we need to do so. They talked about their hangar construction grant, which has kind of, I think, maybe been on the back of our minds, and not something that we've necessarily had a great amount of conversation. around, but, we'd be in it for a 5% match with about 40% coming from the state and possibly 55% coming from federal. We discussed that with, Frank Lucas and Tom Cole, they have a lot of interest in some earmark funding, and particularly, they've had some interest in airports. And if we say we want to go to 7,100 feet or widen our, runway, we should probably be asking, Toby to put some plans together and see if we can get some funds earmarked for that, straight out of direct appropriations at the federal level. And then they also talked about, and I know we've talked about this, is our utilities, that there's a 95.5 match for airport utilities. And whether that's sewer, water, power, fiber, whatever, that I think we've got some real opportunities for not a lot of local outlay. And we may want to, as a committee of this board, kind of put 2 or 3 of us together to start, working in that direction and start getting plans together to bring back to the full board. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, there's some stuff that, maybe we don't want to do, but there's some stuff there that's definitely things that we have talked about that we want to do. And it would probably be worth our while to get started on some of this sooner rather than later. I don't really have any city council stuff that is any more, it's just not as good as that. So, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have, or try to.
You have the budget meeting tomorrow night at the council?
There will be a budget meeting tomorrow night to have the hearing, and they also have the option to approve the budget. So that is tomorrow. I will be in Weatherford for the Summer Mayor's Conference, and so Greg Bowman is the council president. He'll run the meeting, and they'll go from there. There didn't seem to be anything, other than the budget that could even be contentious on the agendas for tomorrow night. And usually the budget hearing is unattended. We usually have Mary on and David Pakey there, and that'll be it. Now, run this video, we might have a full crowd. I don't know, but typically the budget hearing is very low attendance, if any attendance. And then if that all is acceptable, they do have the option to approve the budget tomorrow. If the budget is not approved tomorrow, it will need to be approved prior to the end, 2 weeks before the end of the year. So we'll have to call a special meeting to get the budget approved if we need to. Actually, I think maybe, because the 17th is going to be one day too late. But we'll have to call a special meeting if we're going to approve the budget prior to the end of the year if we don't approve it tomorrow. They are going to hear from another sanitation company regarding privatizing our sanitation services. I will tell you that probably at our June 17th meeting next Tuesday, we will be considering the approval of an agreement with Retail Strategies. That's a group that does retail real estate development throughout the nation in an effort to see what we can do to enhance restaurants, shopping, that sort of stuff in our community. So,
Which a promotions firm or
it's a real estate development company, and so they have, and their CEO or president is she's been key player in retail development all across the nation for quite some time. But they have relationships with national and regional retailers. And when they're looking for places, the municipalities that they're working with are obviously the ones that they're pushing to, here's where you can expand and here's the opportunities. And then not only do they, respond to inquiries from those national and regional retailers, but they also have a platform to get out in front of them and say, hey, Alva's got these opportunities, for something that is right in your wheelhouse. And so we need more sales tax generating entities in our community, just for the benefit, maybe not necessarily the airport, but definitely for the rest of the community. And some of these, national firms are going to probably go use the airport. And so I don't think that's maybe the focus, but that would be some spin-off. That's coming up.
Was there any timeline that they gave on this, or is it just
So the
expiration dates?
I think for the ones with the timelines, the state-only grant there, the 95.5, I think he said, he didn't put it in here, but I think he said 2 years, 12 to 24 months. The next one, it's got a 5-year plan for the federal and state funded grant. Terminal building program, again, that's ODAA. That's going to be in the 1 to 2 years that they want to see that. The fuel system we're already doing. And the hangar construction projects, they, I think, would like to see that in 1 to 2 years as well. Does that sound right, Derek?
Yeah, I think anything that was ODAA was, 12 to 24 months. Because that's what they've got money from the legislation for right now. And I think he did say it's looks favorable for further than that, but right now it's only 12 to 24 months.
And I'd like to set up for them to come talk to the board, and they're willing to do so. So, maybe in August or September we can get them out here to come talk to the board and talk about some of the stuff that they shared with us Friday. Because I do think we're going to want to do some things.
Any questions? Other questions? If not, okay, we'll go to the manager's report.
The fuel sales were down to $24,051.72, which I think is about typical for this time of year. I was telling Paul earlier, so I'm starting to see a pattern in the jet owners' vacationing times. May, June, July are pretty slow, and then late August, early September, when we feel like kids are going back to school and we're getting to that full grind again, they're starting to vacation again. So I'm going to expect lower fuel sales for the next few months. So avgas sales though seem to be steady. I don't see that trend really moving unless it just gets so hot they don't want to fly. But we're still holding pretty steady on that. Especially our prices are still at a good spot. The guy in the TVM that landed today, they're out of Denver, and he said they normally stop. He lives in Denver, he's going to Florida, and he said on their way back they normally stop at Riverside because they're sometimes offer low fuel prices, but they stopped being CAA, he said. So, and then of course we're on the map for CAA, and our prices are low now, so so people do see that. And I think sometimes they opt for a bigger airport if they are CAA because there's more places to eat or whatever, but he was really impressed. He was impressed until it came to the internet. But he's looking at his iPad. He said, "This thing's struggling." I told him, I was like, "Well, fix it. We're getting fiber." And he said, "Oh, that's what I do. That's what he does for a living. So that's where he makes his money to afford a TV." But he was really impressed with our facilities. I've noticed on the north side here of the building, it's starting to rot at the bottom, the siding. Matter of fact, a lot of it over here is rotting off, and you can see underneath and into well, behind the siding and everything.
Talking about the wood on the bottom of the windows.
No, well, the siding on the outside of this window, if you go out there and you look, the siding's rotted off.
There's not brick underneath or so.
No, and so we're getting water coming in these windows, so a lot of that stuff's getting kind of bad. I had to go buy some ant traps today because we had an ant infestation over there. So I don't know this next budget year if we want to show some attention to just get that sealed back up and redone so it doesn't get any worse. I can always get a hold of people to give us quotes. The CAA, it's time for renewal. We've had our 3 years, so we were supposed to kind of go back in for the voting period, but our representative told us that they're probably just gonna, if we were okay with it, for them to just put us back in for another 3 years without having to do the voting. We fall into that area where we don't have any complaints, and our fuel prices haven't skyrocketed on the into plane aspect of it, so we don't have to do the voting. Our gas truck is at Freightliner right now. I called today just to try to get an ETA, but it's getting programmed. The guy's working on it right now. Like an idiot, I called at noon, so he was at lunch. But I tried to. She was going to call me back, but she never did. And then I got out on the road. She said that he's on it, and so I imagine it should be ready within the next 10 days. So our new IT company came and set up their equipment up in here. They also installed the new, I don't know what you call them, the deals on the electrical boxes on the T-hangers, so that works again now, so we'll be able to charge people for their electricity usage. So if you look over there, it looks different than what it did. Looks kind of, they fixed both ends and put new boxes in. So SPI did get our fiber order corrected, so we're not getting any unnecessary additional add-ons. And Apprentice, our new IT, we're continuing that order to get it turned on. So we should see that happening within the month too. So, other than that, I don't have anything else.
So your new radio system's in and going?
Yeah. Yeah, it works really well. It actually picks up farther, but that's kind of a pain now because a lot of people, you can't hear them, it's just static, so it's just forever until they shut up. But yeah, it works really nice.
I occasionally get a comment every now and then from our pilots who maybe come in at dusk or dark and want to fuel up since we don't have the fuel truck and stuff. I was wondering if there was any way we could get some sort of a light out near the pump that wouldn't be an obstruction to wings like that, do you have access to any companies or catalogs or anything that might add something like that in it? We don't want something that shows up, and we've talked before about, we can't mount something on the building because we don't want it shining in our faces.
We have lights out there, and the light, and it's on. So I don't know if I can get with Northwest Electric, if they could get something in that area to where you could turn the light switch on, so, and it'd be brighter, it shines out there, and then when they're done, they could turn it off.
Because I personally haven't fueled after dark.
Right.
But I've been told that you can't see some of the stuff you need to do out there.
Right, yeah, and
Without a flashlight.
yeah, all we have is that, those two light bulbs out there. I turned, it looks like it's on. I might be lying. Well, I'll turn it back on, but, at night, it could probably be better if we had some sort of light out there they could turn on and off.
You might look into that, since we've got that pump going and our ad gas sales are where they're at. I mean,
Yep.
to see if we can help them out with their situations in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, I know we can't have it just on all the time shooting out there, but we could have some sort of light. Maybe, I wouldn't even say, I wouldn't go as far as a motion sensor, but at least a light switch.
Yeah, I mean, and I figured we had electricity out there to power something, but, we can't have a pole. We don't want a wing flying into a pole, but something to help illuminate, where they need to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I can look into that.
Any other questions for me? All right, moving on to number 5, discussion and action concerning TBT Transportation Aviation Support and Maintenance Services in the amount of $6,265.
They are our current, they're the ones who installed the new AWAS, but they're also our new technicians, and the yearly contract came out. Now, normally we were paying L&P Enterprises, which I'm not even so sure he's doing anymore, but I know that we cut ties with him whenever we got this new one, mainly because if we did not, we were going to get dinged pretty hard by the FAA because they weren't keeping up with our AWAS logs and everything like they're supposed to. So DBT is pretty much the only ones around that does this.
So what do we get for that amount of money? They come on site?
They come on site.
Monthly, once a year?
They do our quarterly inspections. They show up here quarterly. This is what was supposed to happen with L&P, and it never happened. We get a quarterly inspection and then our logs, and they have to meet with the non-federal AWAS inspector, and then we have a yearly one that they have to do all these testings on that they show up for. So it's pretty much for inspections.
So all of these things are compliance
Compliance, yeah.
related?
Yeah.
So we get 4 quarterly inspections, a flying inspection by them
Yeah.
or by the FAA, and they're present.
Well, the DBT comes and does the quarterly inspections and makes sure everything's going. They do the testing and they log it in the book. And then the annual big inspection is that off the FAA inspection.
The reason I'm asking is because they charge. I saw their fee schedule here for their other charges, so for like a facility visit fee, $17.80 per day. So
Yeah, that's it.
I understand that's like an unplanned thing,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to make sure what we were getting for the $6,000.
Yeah, if we don't, and LMP, I think they were 1,500 a year, but they weren't doing anything. And that's about
They were
the,
3,500.
were they? Okay, so they're half of what, and so that,
I have no problem with it.
Well, I
just
know,
wanna make
I
sure
know.
that we know what we're getting for the $6,000.
right, yeah.
Because
if-
their fee schedule seems to be pretty stiff.
Yeah, well,
I mean, the way that I look at it, it's like, this just gives the contract, and then in addition, every time they come out, it's $17.80 per day.
if it's something
I think that's unplanned, isn't it?
unplanned, yeah.
It's just unplanned.
Yeah, that's 58 per day is unplanned. The 4 quarterly inspections are included in the contract price.
Okay, I just want to know what we got included in the contract price,
That's unplanned. They also, as John said, they have to come out and,
right?
Right.
you know, emergency repairs are, and that's, that's the,
If we go out there and do something to it, we hit it with a mower or something and knocks it out, then that's on us, and that's when that fee schedule.
So, do we get technical support by phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's included?
Yeah, that's included. I've used them twice because the first year was free, obviously, and then, or it was in the contract of the installation, but I've called them twice and they pick up the phone like that, and somebody answers your questions and gets you going really quick.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that we knew what we were
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that nobody really does that, around here. I mean, LMP was out of Lubbock, these guys are out of Texas too, and it's like, it's all regional.
Is that what they always used to say, Larry and Pat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and, they were up there in age, I think they're hitting 80. So, yeah. So this one, it's more expensive, but I guess you kind of get what you pay for, so, and so far.
I understand. I mean, you don't need to, I just want to know what we got for this out. So, it's because, so basically, I mean, based on their fee schedule, we're getting, if they're here 5 times a year, we're getting a little deal at $6,000, based on their fee schedule.
Well, they're probably combining one of the quarterlies with the annuals. They're probably only here 4 times. So we're getting a little bit of a deal based on their fee schedule.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. I mean, it's actually nice working with somebody that knows what they're doing, and you can actually call them and they'll answer the phone and do what they're supposed to. So.
I make a motion to approve DBT Transportation Aviation Support and Maintenance Services in the amount of $6,265 a year.
Second.
Okay, I had a motion and a second to approve the DBT Transportation Aviation Support and Maintenance Services in the amount of $6,265. Roll call.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 6, discussion and action to approve Park Hills contract amendment for services related to the design, bidding, and grant administration of the parallel taxiway project.
You guys are going to have to help out. I'm not sure, other than what's written here.
Didn't we approve something like this here a while back?
what was it for?
This says this is for the parallel taxiway project, which should be the resurfacing and the taxiway lights, right?
I think that's what we're working on the FAA airport one, isn't it?
I can't.
To be honest with you, I didn't print it off.
I thought we approved something like this a month or 2 back.
I told you, you said that to me last week.
I don't have my previous minutes.
Sure.
We call Toby.
Absolutely. It wasn't last year because I missed it, so. But I remember
It was like 2 months.
yeah, the one before. I thought we did.
I feel like you, Paul, I feel like we did this.
The email says, please find attached Park Hills contract amendment for services related to the design, bidding, and grant administration.
Hey, Toby. I am good. We're at the airport board meeting.
You have
Um,
the agenda for 2 meetings ago.
So we're looking at, it's item number 6 on our agenda to approve an amendment to the Park Hill contract.
We approved something like this.
Yeah, this is an amendment that.
Did we not already
That was an amendment.
approve this
This
amendment?
this would be like the
Or
second.
is this something different?
Probably.
We haven't done any contractually related to the taxiway project yet. The last thing that we approved was for the, jet fuel project.
Okay,
Amendment to the jet fuel.
I think that's right.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Toby while we got him on the phone? It looks like this is going to be a 90% FAA, 5% ODAA, and 5% City of Alva, or Alva Airport. Toby, what are we looking at in terms of a cost estimate? We don't have that for the engineering amendment.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So the engineer, I mean, what we're approving is the amendment for the Park Hill contract?
Yes, for the design of the taxiway.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, the design, what's that amendment going to cost, and so what would our portion of that be?
Mayor, I don't have it in front of me, but the second page of the amendment, which I assume is in your packet, the second page has all the fees on it.
Yeah, we don't have that
You
yet.
did that to the order.
Derek may have it, he's going to go see if he can find it.
If you give me just a second, I'll pull it up on my phone.
Okay?
I've got it right here.
While we're waiting, where are we at on the fuel project?
I've been the mayor.
Okay. While you're pulling that up, Mr. Kinsey asked if you could give an update on the fuel project.
Sure. So I spoke with the contractor, and they are ready to make their material submittals for everything with the exception of the nozzle hanger. The manufacturer that they've got before is no longer making them. And so they said that was the one piece they were waiting on before submitting everything to us. And I told them, this was towards the end of last week, go ahead and send us everything you got. That's not a critical path item. The tank itself is a critical path item. And so I expect their submittals this week. And so we'll review all the different components and make sure they comply with the specs and approve those submittals. And at that point, they'll place the order for the tank itself. That will take far too long for the manufacturer, and the tank then is sent to Innovative, our contractor, and then they upfit the tank with all the pumps and filtration system and the piping and everything. So realistically, we're seeing the tanks themselves have about a 6-month lead time. We've got 2 projects, fuel projects under construction right now, one over at Hooker and one down in Broken Bow. And those are just the time frames that we're seeing on both of those.
Wonderful.
Well, sort of. You got to start at some point.
We're not going backwards.
No, you got to start at some point, but it's certainly not fast. So, and so I have for Review, I've got that amendment in front of me.
Okay.
So the first task is for the final design services. So basically, this is all of the actual design itself. It's $275,000. The second task is bid-based services. So that's issuing all the plans to the bidders. That's conducting the mandatory pre-bid meeting and site walkthrough. issuing an agenda to the bidders, and then attending the bid opening, recommending award of contract, and preparing the construction contract. That's $18,500. And then there are 2 grant administration tasks, one for FAA and one for the OEAA. Both of those are $12,500. And then we have a task to update the DBE program and goal. Many of you may remember that any time the FAA grant is going to exceed $250,000, we have to prepare a disadvantaged business enterprise goal that is specific to the scope of work for this project. And so that task will prepare both the goal, and then there have also been FAA Office of Civil Rights has some new changes that they're requiring that the city incorporate into the DBE program itself. That's a separate document. And so we're going to get that cleaned up at the same time as we prepare the goal. And that task is $12,700.
Okay, so I'm doing math here real quick.
Sure, and I can read them back to you if you're.
I think Derek actually got it for us.
So if we approve these tonight, when would these funds be drawn?
So the first thing, the design and the DBE work, I would anticipate probably would not see a bill for the DBE stuff until at least 60 days out. On the design, we have actually jumped the gun contractually. We're well into design just simply because of the timing for needed for the project. I honestly just should have had the amendment to you guys here. We would probably have a bill within the first 30 days simply because of the progress. We're actually well beyond 60% plans right now. If, bearing in mind that the sum of these will exceed the city's 5% share for the entire project, if we need to reserve a portion of that billing until after the grant is received, that's something that we certainly can do if that's needed.
I get a total of $329,200 with a 5% match being $16,460.
I think you dropped to 0 on your 5%.
Well, let me start over.
I apologize. No. I'm sorry. You're right. For this piece, I'm thinking about your 21 to the entire project. No, you're absolutely.
You're expecting grants in around before the end of September.
Mayor, could you repeat the question? I apologize.
You're expecting the grants in September.
Probably a bit. We will have bids and a grant application to FAA in a time frame that would allow us to have it sometime in August. Because this has discretionary funding, sometimes that schedule's a little bit more up in the air. So it could be as late as September, but it also could be as early as sometime in August. But definitely no later than September 30th. It will be an federal FY24 grant, so it will have to be issued by September.
As long as you're willing to work with it, my concern is we have that cost of the Jet A system as well as this cost. That's a lot of money going out the door in a few short months.
He just said as long as we're acknowledging that we've got a lot of money going out the door in a few short months with the Jet A project as well.
And I don't think that's an incorrect expectation. I do think that when we place the order for the jet fuel tank, typically we will have a deposit that we will have to go process the application for that. And so, like I said, we're more than happy to work with you on the invoice if we need to float that for a little while. That's something we can certainly do.
Okay.
I redid the math. It's actually the 5% matches on the engineering is going to be $16,560. Are any other questions for Toby? All right, sir, we appreciate it.
Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
I make a motion that we approve the Park Hill contract amendment for services related to design, bidding, and grant administration of the parallel exitway project.
Second.
Okay, I've had a motion and a second to approve the Park Hill contract amendment for services related to the design, bidding, and grant application of the parallel taxiway project. Roll call?
Kinsey,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes. Okay, moving on to number 7, remarks inquired by airport commission members. Citizens? Then we'll move on to number 9, adjourn.